Hi everybody, it's David Fleming here from the Toronto Realty Group, and welcome back to this week's Pick 5. Now the spring market is upon us, things are getting very busy out there, and I find myself out more often than not with move-up buyers. Now move-up buyers are the folks that are looking for what? Get out of their semi, they've been there for 5 years, or in the case of one of my clients, even 15, and they're looking for that forever house. Now I had a set of clients that for the longest time were looking on the east side, and then I considered what their criteria was, and I said, guys, I want to take you on a trip up to Bedford Park. Now Bedford Park is an area that is very different from what's immediately around there. You've got Lawrence Park that are 50 by 150 foot lots. You go into an area like Leaside, it's a very different homogeneous feel in that area. A lot more bungalows. Bedford Park, narrower lots, a lot more new builds, and what we've seen over the last few years is that the first wave of new builds are now kind of maturing, if you will. The stuff that was new in 2010, 2012, 2015 are giving way to these McMansions that developers are building, and we've done this in a Pick 5 before, and which I am not really seeing a ton of value in. But Bedford Park, as with many areas, and we'll see that in today's Pick 5, we're going to look at houses that are entry level at $155. We're going to go all the way up to $3.4 million. Now, a note about the Bedford Park area. I've got a client, we're listing their house for sale in a couple of weeks, who told me that, hey, you've got a market, my property is in the John Wanless School District. But then on the weekend, there was a house on Jedburgh that sold very quickly, and it was because those people wanted the Bedford Park School District. So whether or not, just reaching for my glasses and I got my mic there. Now, whether or not you've got kids in these two schools, I'm not going to debate the pros and cons of them, but I will do this, guys. I'm going to take you to the map here. This is the Fraser Institute rankings. This is John Wanless. You can see over here, ranks an 8.7 out of 10. That's a very, very good ranking. But what about Bedford Park, guys? What does Bedford Park rank? Well, a 9.3. So I'll be honest with you, my clients that have kids in Wanless Park's the greatest, everyone wants Wanless, and then the people that are in Bedford Park are like, what, ours is a higher ranking, it's a greater school, it's better. To each their own. Two fantastic schools in this area, and today we're going to look at 5 very interesting properties. So check this out, guys. When I click here, you can see this is the Bedford Park School District. I mentioned that house on Jedburgh. It was right here. It was just outside of this school district, and instead it was in this one. But that's what those folks wanted, to each their own. 2 fantastic schools, and I think that most people looking in and around this area are probably doing so because, well, they're family planning. So we'll take a look, guys, at our 5 listings, and I'll go to our table. The very, very first one is a little bungalow that is up on Glengarry. Now Glengarry, I mentioned the house that sold on Jedburgh, it was just over here. Glengarry is the first street that is north of Lawrence. But when you zoom in here and you can see, if you're on the south side of Glengarry, yes, you're backing onto Lawrence, it's a bit busier. This is on the north side, so to me there's a difference there. Now, the house itself, guys, this is a 25 by 106. It reeks of land value, but consider that some people, believe it or not, are buying bungalows to live in. In fact, I know one. She has the same last name as me. She's a little bit older. She's awesome. She's my mother. Yes, I did not buy her a place on Glengarry, but not every bungalow has to be torn down. Not every bungalow has to be redeveloped. In fact, we got something, I won't out my mother, but we found her a little place that she can downsize into. It is a bungalow. It woulda, coulda, shoulda been bought by a builder to be torn down. Not every property needs to be torn down and rebuilt. So then you look at this one here at Glengarry. Okay, look, that's a number, $1,550,000 for 25 by 106. But I'm going to show you another property here at 280 Woburn, another bungalow, 23 by 120 for $1,749,000. That if it really is land value, I mean, maybe it's a better location, maybe it's a better lot, but all of a sudden this was $200,000 lower. It doesn't seem that terrible. So this is really, really entry level, guys. And take a look inside and you can tell me whether or not this is actually land value or whether this could, you know, actually be usable. Consider the 78-year-old lady, right? Her name's Carol. She loves knitting, you know, has her little Etsy shop. Could someone like that live in a house like this? You've got a nice covered porch, you got a good backyard. Then you get inside the house, okay, rip up the carpet, there's hardwood underneath. What's the line? I think it was 40-year-old virgin. We ripped up the hardwood and there was carpet underneath. Total dad joke. So yeah, in the inside, right, it is very, very basic. And you might say like, oh, this thing needs to be gutted. I don't think it needs to be. I think one could sustain life in here. When you get to the kitchen, that's usually where the decision's made. You know, that thing's tired. And you get to the bathrooms too, and you'll see like the older yellowish, there's probably some yellowish hardwood in. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. So for a modest amount, I don't know, 50 grand, you could go in, you could do a really, really nice cleanup on here. Or these are just photos of empty rooms, which is driving me crazy. Keep going, keep going. Or you could, in fact, tear this down and you could make a new build. But this is entry level, guys, to the area. Don't want to belabor this one too much, other than to show you that this is what original housing stock looked like. Some people are buying these and folks are downsizing into them. And there you can see this looks like a stucco, top up from, I don't know, the late 1990s. Here you've got two semis, and up here, this thing looks like a big commercial building. No, that's just like a new build. So that's our starting point, guys. Not gonna belabor this one because it is just a bungalow. Now we're gonna get into what is the next level up. So that was $1,550,000 for a bungalow, and that's entry level, but that is either being torn down or it's a retired downsizer. The one that we're looking at here, 280 Fairlawn, this is entry level truly. It's a 2-story, semi-detached, 3-bed, 3-bath, 24 by 151, has parking. Where's this one located? Take a look. Okay, great street. Oh, hello. Are we on the same street as John Wanless? John Wanless, people love John Wanless. John Wanless, not to be confused with John Ross Robertson. JRR, your kid's in JRR. We're in John Wan. You're in JRR. I can't even keep track. I'm gonna homeschool my kids. So how far north are we? As I mentioned, when we went down here and we saw the first one, the little bungie on Glengarry, yeah, it was just north of Lawrence. Now we're far up enough. You don't want to be too far. And how far is too far? Like you get into the cricket club, which of course is a nice area and everything. Different, very, very different, bigger lots, more palatial estates up there. And you can see it really changes after you get north of Deloraine. But I feel people want to be kind of in the mid zone here, right? My place that I mentioned on Cranbrook's in and around here, that'll be out maybe by the time you watch this video. Okay, so what have we got here, guys? 280 Fairlawn. Well, we've got nicely renovated, and I'm going to show you the original listing here in a moment. You go inside and you can see decent principal rooms. They've opened up what looks like taking out the original freestanding wall. They probably had an original fireplace here. They put an insert in and then bricked or stuccoed around the brick, which is a huge mistake to me. But they've redone the flooring. They've done a few, this little nice beam here, right? They put in their pot lights. So it is renovated. And it hasn't moved either, which is fascinating to me because if you were to pick this house up and put it in a couple of different areas, it definitely would have moved at $1,650,000. That's a pretty good price. So this, guys, as I mentioned, this is kind of that entry level. This is, it's beyond entry level because you have smaller semis. This was, what would we say, 24 by, could have been 150. That's massive. But kitchen's renovated. We're gonna get up to the bedrooms here. And it is radiant, I believe. That's an interesting touch right there. And that's a 2-piece bathroom. So beyond entry level, right? You got a little tandem at the back. Yeah, entry level would be like your 3-bed, 2-bath semi, not as nicely finished. Original leaded windows. Now we're just getting up into, oh wow, what is happening here? Holy moly, look at that. So you've got bedroom photos, seen one, seen them all. Yeah, there's your built-in rad. Different vintage than those massive honking pieces of iron. And you can see original. This is where your milkman would have brought your milk. Is there a weirder concept? Like maybe in a dystopian movie set in 2200, and every day the man brings the milk. Like, I get it, a throwback to another time. But can you imagine today if there was a man showed up, opened a door at the side of your house and gave you a glass jar of milk? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Was that actually a thing? Some of you, believe it or not, my demographic for pick 5 is skewing slightly older. Some of you right now are thinking about the milkman from when you were a kid. Okay, so that's that, guys, but I want to take you to that. This is the original property. This was when it was a POA. This was in rough shape. This was $1,495,000. And let's click on a couple of the photos just to say that we did, if they would cooperate here. Check this out. That's the kitchen. Go on. This is what it looked like upstairs. That's the basement. So guys, $1,495,000. We're sitting here at $1,659,000. This is a steal. Like, this is a steal. Now, it's not moving. It's been on the market 57 days. So it's not a steal, but this is a steal. This was bought, renovated, and now it's at a price that to me is way below what's into this property. It's got parking, it's got the 3 beds, it's got the 3 baths, and did I mention it's a 151-foot lot? Okay, let's move on to the next one. I really like that one. Ooh, 136 Cranbrook. Okay, so this is interesting. So what's the value difference between a semi and a detached? Say that you have two identical homes. One's detached and one's semi. Well, they're not identical, but they're both 25 by 150. They're both 3-bed, 2-bath. They both have parking, et cetera, et cetera. What's the difference? 100,000? If you're doing a CMA, what is the difference between a semi and a detached? Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 150. The point I'm trying to make is that here we have 136 Cranbrook, which is a detached 2-story, 25 by 110, 3-bed, 2-bath, and it's 1788. So if we go back here, guys, and we look at our good friend at 280 Fairlawn, which is $1,659,000, 3-bed, 3-bath, fully renovated, 24 by 151. Holy smokes. And then here, we're 1788 because it's detached. So here's where you get into that pocket in Bedford Park where we started with a little bungalow, $1,550,000 could be land value, maybe you spruce it up. Then you get up to the entry-level semis, and eventually we can go up to the $3.8 million McMansions. But where is there room for the original home, not torn down, not rebuilt, not extended onto? And that's what 136 Cranbrook is. This is a detached, and it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but as we go through the photos, okay, well, this is what we've got. So this looks like an addition on the back. So maybe there is an addition. I'll go back to, remind me if you will. Oh no, that's in the center. Hang on, David. I want to see, do they have a family room? Okay, so slightly different layout. But a lot of times we do get where the semi and the detached have an identical layout. And the only difference is that one shares a wall. So you can tell whether it's the ceiling fan, the furniture, this situation happening right here. I mean, it's unique. You can tell that obviously this thing needs some TLC, and I'm trying to be funny and not trying to be rude, but I think that there's something for everyone out there. And this is a lovely home and has probably served multiple generations of families. And now it is something that the buyer is going to say they're going to need to put work into. But what is the market for a detached 3-bed, 2-bath? I'll tell you this, based on my professional opinion. I think that the house on Fairlawn is a better purchase. Now there's a problem because there's 100,000 plus difference between the two of them. This is a detached home. There is definitely value in a detached home. But the difference here, I'm just not seeing enough. I'm not seeing the extra bathroom. I'm not seeing the renovation. I'm not seeing the functionality. I'm not seeing move in. And you know, you get into the bathrooms and when they look like this compared to the renovated one, I think that there's a value to buying this and renovating it. But I think when you compare it to what we saw in that semi, right here is the addition. So it does have the addition. That's a nice spot. And the 150-foot lot on the other one too, although I like that big tree. You know what? I think you get to a point where you start to like trees. Like I would never care in a million. You think 25-year-old David Fleming doing pick 5 was like, I really like that tree. I think you just get to a point when you're 45 and you're like, that's a nice tree. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. I know you do. Okay, so we got photos of the flowers. Don't know that that's really selling it. This is the exact same patio set that my mother has. That's it. You're only allowed to mention your mother twice on pick 5. That's the rule. Okay. So then you've got some nice photos of the outdoor space. Listen, it's a much loved home, but I think you've got to consider the demographic. You've got to consider the buyer pool. The family, they're buying that one on Fairlawn because it's done and it has the main floor powder room. This one has an extension. It's got that family room, but this needs work to get it to the level of aesthetics and function and form as the other one. So let's take a step up here now, guys. Oh, there's a note here, 136 Cranbrook. I wanted to show you this one, okay? 70 Cranbrook, detached 2-story, 25 by 110, 3-bed, 3-bath at 1888, 22 days in the market. This is an awful photo because I don't know which house it is. So then if you see this, we're now into like pick 6, right? Pick 5, pick 6. So now you see this. This is still freestanding walls. This looks like some DIY here. You know, so they work with the original footprint here, but they're renovated for 1888. And then, you know, we were 1788 unrenovated, right? So you see where I'm getting with that. I think the value is in that semi. Okay, so our next step up here, guys, this is a cool house. This is a really cool house. Okay, we're 3-bed, 4-bath. So we've got our master ensuite, we've got our kids' bath, we've got our basement bath, and we've got our powder room, check. We have our 1-car parking, check. 25 by 110, okay, we've got our main floor family room. This house is really, really nice inside. Let's take a look. So this is, I wanna be in the area in the school district. I don't have 7 to 2.8 for that custom build from 2012. I certainly don't have 3.5 for that new build, but what I want is something that is renovated. So take a look at the aesthetic of this. It's modern, you've got your glass railings, you've got your open concept. Now what you do have here though, guys, is original ceiling height, because I'll show you the property when it was bought, and you've got the things that you can't change, right? Is the layout of this house. It was not a teardown, but it does have, hello, our family room extension. So to me, that's the major difference between either the original footprint houses I just showed you, the typical semi, and I know that the one on Cranbrooke that we just did had that little bump out at the back with the parquet. I've tried to forget that already. Okay, and then you, check this out. Then you walk out to, this is so nicely done. This is so nicely done. Wow. This is a steal at 2.4. I'd hate to say it. I mentioned I've got one coming out. I mean, ours is 4-bedroom and it's bigger and better than this, but we're gonna be at 2.7. This is really nice. Wow. So it's only a 3-bed. And I've seen, believe it or not, you know, I don't know who's having 3 kids anymore. Apparently if you're in London, England, that's a status symbol. You have the 3rd, so that people can think more of you, Charles. Yes, so that's a thing. But then if you get into Toronto, where, I don't know, I think 3 bedrooms would do, but there is a big difference. And from, as I said, the detached versus semi, called 100 grand. The 3-bed versus 4, yeah, probably 100 grand. You know, and you're like, well, it's just a bedroom. Okay, but it's about square footage, and you know, it's probably about the factoring into the overall value of that house. So a lot of screens here. What is happening? Saw a lot of them upstairs. Okay, so we didn't really stage downstairs, but that's fine. That's fine. This is a steal, guys. Wow, really nice. Yeah, they got, look, we have grass. I love this outdoor space, you know, the 3-season room. That's a great shot. Whoa, look at that. So I guess had they continued to build out here, that would have been your 4th bedroom. I don't know what's happening here, but that looks fugly. And you've got your stamped concrete or your patio tiles. So yeah, you have a little bit of grass, but like to me, the main floor, guys, the main floor is what did it for me. Oh, it's not grass. It's like a green mat or whatever. Anyways, whatever. I like mowing the lawn. I do. I like mowing the lawn, but every spring, man, the raking, my dad taught me from an early age. I was like, Dad, can I please go play with my toys? He was like, you have to rake. That's just like instant tennis elbow, right? So I like what they've done out back. Maybe you could use a little bit more grass. You can see they've done the same kind of thing out front. So look, let me show you, I mentioned the original house, which is right here. So this is the original structure. So it's not a rebuild, as I mentioned, and ignore the price and everything, right? Like when did they buy it? So what they did was they kept the existing structure and then, you know, they added on and they completely revamped it. So at $2,398,800, I think this is an unbelievable deal. I cannot believe the value here, so I'm very interested to see if and when this moves and for how much. It's not my listing, by the way. I'm not gushing over it for any particular reason. Okay, 116 Deloraine. This is your McMansion. I don't know who coined the term McMansion. I'm gonna give credit to Garth Turner, one of the biggest real estate bears of all time. I believe he, at least for me, it was the first time I ever heard the term McMansion, was reading his blog many, many years ago. But this is your classic new build McMansion. And this isn't brand new. I think this is being sold by a developer. I was gonna say builder, developer. And I believe maybe this is a situation where your builder developer lives in it for a little while. But this look to me, look, I'm a red brick guy, but this is very, very prevalent in the area. So what have we got? We've got a 24 by 124, 4-bed plus 1 5-bath. Your garage is attached. It says private drive. Guys, if you took 2 bungalows with a mutual in between, and then you built 2 McMansions, and then each of you drove into where you remove part of your front lawn to park, do you both have private driveways? No. So I was showing a house in Leaside not too long ago, and it said private drive. And I was like, no, this isn't a private drive. They're like, what is it? I was like, well, it's not a legal front pad because they don't have the little medallion. They're like, what is it? I was like, it's a nothing. Like, what do you mean? They're parking. I was like, what this is you had 2 bungalows with a mutual in between. Bungalow is still over here. These guys carved out the lawn and they're parking. It doesn't make it a mutual. So what we see in areas like this all the time, and I'm gonna go to the original listing here, mutual. So this is the original listing from when they bought it. Oh, and by the way, $1,450,000 and selling for $1,825,000. Yeah, that's what land value plays used to look like. So this had a mutual. And you could do a legal front parking pad here if you wanted to, but when you go and you build a new house, this here is not a private drive by definition. For all intents and purposes, it is. It is a private driveway. It is two things, a driveway and it is private. But by the letter of the law, this is not your typical private driveway that you would expect to see in a typical detached house purpose-built in this area. So having said that, let's look at the photos because I was just talking boring talk and you want to see sexy photos. So beautiful house. See what I mean? That's the mutual drive and they've parked here. Yeah, like it's, you know, front parking pad. Okay, so inside, very, very nice. And we've seen this a lot where you have the elevated living room that is above the garage, or as your grade 8 teacher called it, the garage. My grade 8 teacher used to talk a lot about computers, how important they were going to be down the line. I was like, dude, come on. That can't be true. Yes, but the garage, the roof, the rough, that was my art teacher. I don't know what is it with teachers and mispronouncing, but I think that, and I want to go back there. I know I kind of interrupted myself. I don't know if it's funny or not, but I want to go back here in this garage situation. It completely transforms the main floor in either a good way or a bad way. So let's go back one more, guys. See this? Built in, and see how high up you are? What you end up doing is when you walk in at grade here, you've got to go up another half staircase. So our garage has forced us to have this elevated living room, and some people like it, some people don't. Then there's the situations, I've done this in a Pick 5 before, where your living room and your dining room are completely separate, and your living room's kind of up here, and your dining room's over here, and you're thinking, why would I ever use that living room in a million years? So this is the lesser of two evils to me, but for $3.4 million, that's not a dining room. That is a table that looks like, I don't know, back in the day, 2 in the morning Chinese food. Used to love doing that. Okay, so love the finishes in here, except they'd seat you with people you don't know. You're like, you guys need to make friends. Remember it was like a 12-person table? Like you and your 3 friends would go out? Cold tea? Was that code for alcohol after hours? Okay, here we go. We're going down memory lane, obviously, as we roll through this one. So, like the finishes, some of you might think they're too modern. No, that's a lot. There's a lot happening in there. I like a combination of modern and traditional, right? You'd call that transitional, I suppose. That is creepy. Isabel will make a note to remember where I said it was creepy. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay, and then you've got what's happening in here. Oh my God, the blue. Holy moly. Think outside the box. That's what you did with that scary marionette. Okay, and there's a basement. So basement, again, you've got to walk out and you've got great natural light because of the fact that you're built high up off the ground. But that built-in garage, and you know what? It never fits a car. Ask your grade 8 computer science. No, you know what? I was a generation before it was called computer science. Guys, I'm going to date myself here. We had a class called computers. Yeah, I'm going to computers. That was it. And you just go and muck around on the computer and use paint to draw stuff. Okay. There's no email back then. I don't know what we did on computers before it was computer science. So shout out to Mr. Dufton, my grade 8 teacher. The garage situation is burning a hole in my brain because I've never loved the layout where you're trying so hard on a narrow lot to force a garage in from a value standpoint that you butcher the main floor. This one has a usable, functional main floor. I don't love the fact that the dining room is small, but then you look, guys, and we went back to, okay, our price point here, $3.4 million. There are a lot of these, and they do sell, and somebody will buy this, and it'll be a beautiful home for a nice family for many, many years. But if you were to look at a house in this area and say, what am I missing with this? I don't know, I'd love to see the lot at like 28 feet. You know, 30 feet would be great. But as I mentioned, that's what Bedford Park, in my opinion, is known for. Narrower lots. The one I've got coming out on Cranbrooke is a 25 by 110. Those are very common. You get people that subdivided a 40-footer, and they've got 2 detached at 20 feet. You compare this to a Leaside, where your typical detached is 30, and you're moving into 35s. This is a narrower lot situation. Go north, as I mentioned, in the Cricket Club, you're getting into 40s, 50s for sure. But this is very representative of the new builds that we find in Bedford Park. So that's it, guys. A bungalow at $1,550,000, a great entry-level property, $1,659,000, renovated 3-bed, 3-bath. A curious renovation candidate, if you will, a detached for 1,788. And then you've got this really cool one at 2.4, which is only a 3-bed, but it's the family forever home, and it's at a number that you just don't find. And then you've got the McMansion, Garth Turner's McMansion, for $3.4 million. So that is it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this look at Bedford Park. If you got kids in one school versus the other, listen, don't blame me. Just fight with each other. Bedford Park versus John Wanless. It's kind of like growing up how Besborough would fight with North Lee. Those North Lee kids, don't get me started. Folks, thanks for watching. As always, if you'd like to have Pick 5 emailed to you directly every week, go to torontorealtyblog.com/pick5 and sign up. We'll send you an email when we launch, which is usually on Thursday. Feedback, email me at davidfleming@ballseyrealestate.com. Comments, put a little comment there in the YouTube section below. I love reading those. Thanks for watching, guys. See you here next time. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye for now.